Mr. Chairman, to the Minister, I know I have put forward some questions of concern, but I would like to pass a bouquet as well, because I understand there is some work currently being done on some of the bridges in Pictou East that really have in fact needed considerable work for quite a period of time. And I refer to the Plymouth Bridge and also the bridge in the village of Eureka. And Plymouth is already underway, and it is my understanding that there will be work done in Eureka very shortly, and I hope my information is correct. I know that it's starting in Plymouth, but Mr. Minister, do the people of Eureka, their expectations, will they in fact be met?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I do know that there's a considerable amount of bridge work being done in Pictou and Colchester counties. I recently signed a work order to that effect. My memory is failing me with respect to the details of everything that was on that list. It was a fairly lengthy list. So I'll take his question as noticed today and provide an answer to him tomorrow.
The Honourable Member for Pictou East.
Mr. Chairman, I am in fact running out of time here, but that bridge work was of fundamental importance, and it is my understanding that it is being looked after. And I thank the Minister and the Department for that. I'm very concerned about the deletion and the reduction, and I think you'll be hearing more from the people of Pictou East in relationship to those two matters. And there are a series of other matters that I'm dealing with the Department on, and I would like to commend the Minister for the great staff that he has looking after Pictou East. I've had nothing but a good response from those folks anytime I've called his department. So I don't want to sit down on a negative note, and I do thank him and his department for what is being done.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank the Honourable Member for his comments. And I can assure the Honourable Member and all members of the House that any decisions that were taken with respect to the pressures of price are decisions that we're trying to be as fair as possible with respect to those decisions right across the province. And the decisions, again, I want to emphasize, are decisions to delay as opposed to decisions to cancel.
The Honourable Member for Pictou East.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have been informed that I have a couple of more minutes, so I certainly have many issues that I can raise in those minutes. We have a very serious problem in the Sinclair Island area of Pictou East. I have been getting a tremendous number of calls in relationship to that, and people are very concerned that the Sinclair Island Road is in fact in the worst condition in the memory of many of the residents who are down in that particular area. And I'm glad that I do have an opportunity to put Sinclair's Island on the map with the department to get it on the radar. And I hope that the department will look at that very, very expeditiously.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I thank the Honourable Member for bringing the Sinclair Island Road situation to our attention. I know that a previous member for Pictou County has a particular interest in the Sinclair Island Road as well.
The Honourable Member for Pictou East.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I hope that the department will have a similar interest in that road. The fish harvesters in Lismore. Lismore is one of our best fishing communities in Pictou County, has a tremendous history of good landings, and it is an excellent fishing community. However, the Lismore Wharf Road is in desperate condition, and I've also had a number of calls in relationship to it as well. And here again, I want to take the opportunity of raising that issue. There are some heavy trucks that are on that road. Unfortunately, the trucks are taking product away from Lismore. They're taking it to Prince Edward Island for processing, another matter that we have to address. And these heavy trucks that are transporting fish away from processing in Pictou County are in fact probably part of the reason that that road is being broken up to the extent that it is. But I've never seen that road. I've been going down to that wharf for the best part of 50 years, over 40 of them as a driver. And I think that this is something that has to be looked at by the department very, very closely. The road is in desperate shape, and I've mentioned it to the department on a couple of occasions, and nothing has been done to date. But please be advised that we're not giving up on Lismore, and we're not giving up on the road to the wharf.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I'm reasonably familiar with the road to the Lismore Wharf, and have been on it many times. And there is a similar situation with respect to the road to the Arsag Wharf, and the Arsag Wharf Road is certainly one that I intended to visit with my engineer this summer. He doesn't have any jurisdiction over the Lismore Road, but we'll certainly make sure that folks in your area do have a look at that, and we'll see what they have to say.
The Honourable Member for Pictou East.
Mr. Chair, to the Minister, I thank him for his forthright remarks. Thank you. All right.
Order. The time for the member has expired. Now recognize the Honourable Member for Digby Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister, for hearing me out tonight for a while. I won't keep you too long, but there's but there is alders to cut. There's lots of alders to cut. I can guarantee you that. There's lots of roads to build too in this province, and I don't know if there's lots of money, but there's lots of roads to build. If we keep losing our people out of this province and our tax base keeps going down, we'll have less roads to build with less money too, that's for sure. There is a road though in Digby, from Digby to Weymouth, the 101 that I have to mention before I go home. And this road, Mr. Minister, has been into the making for 30 years. This road is supposed to be the 101. It's called the 101 down there, but really it is the #1 highway. It travels for about 20-odd kilometers from Digby to Weymouth, and it passes homes, some of the homes 15 to 18 feet off of this highway. You have your heavy traffic coming down off the true 101 from Digby and coming up from Yarmouth the other way off the 101. Trucks and cars traveling 100 to 120 miles per hour. Well, they don't, kilometers, excuse me, whatever. They're going fast. And when they come to that #1 highway, up through them homes, where school buses are letting children off, where milk trucks are delivering milk, where they're delivering newspapers door to door. There's trucks loaded coming up through there at 100 and 110 kilometers an hour. They don't slow down one bit. There's been two or three of those big trucks have left the road there. And just by the grace of God, they went between a couple of houses instead of through them. Any morning we're going to wake up. Now you can mark my words right here, right now. Right now, you can mark them down. Mark them on the wall here behind you. We're going to wake up some morning, there's going to be a trailer truck through one of them homes. Or there's going to be a trailer truck piled up in one of those buses with 50 and 60 children on it. Now, you can mark that down anywhere you want. Probably it'll be marked in Hansard, so I won't have to say, I told you so. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen just as sure as hell as that road is there and that traffic's using that as the 101. 30 years
Order.
the people have been hollering
Order.
about.
Parliamentary language.
I apologize, Mr. Chair. I kind of lose myself when it comes to the 101 between Weymouth and Digby. Because when you have 100 people a week coming at you continuously, why can't we get this highway just single? We don't want it twinned. We don't even want a passing lane there. All we want is a strip of highway up behind it, a few hundred yards away from the homes, so that traffic won't come through our homes and won't kill our children. And I say, well, we're trying. There's not much money in the province, we know that, but we're trying. We're working at it. So I take up for the government all the time. The last couple of years, there was a few properties bought up through there, and I appreciate that very much. That was done by the department. And I do appreciate that. There's still some woodlots that's got to be bought up through there. Not a whole lot. I don't know the exact number. I keep talking to the department down home, and they won't quite give me an exact number of what's to buy through there. But someday this road, I know, has got to get built, and I hope it does before somebody does get seriously hurt through there. So my question is, I guess, about that, can the department see in the future, and hopefully in the not too distant future, that road could be built? And we don't want a double highway there. We want a single one. That's all, just a single highway could possibly go from Digby to Weymouth up away from them homes where I believe it's all marked out to go. Is it possible to see that in the not too distant future?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And as I listened to the honourable member, one of the phrases in my opening remarks came back to mind, and that is the difficulty we have in terms of the expectations that are out there. And the honourable member articulated very well concerns that people in that area have, and I know he feels those concerns personally, because you can tell by the way he expressed it here this evening. And we have situations similar to that in other parts of the province. We heard the honourable member for Preston speak about the need for an upgrade in his area. And we did go through the process of establishing an alignment to replace that road, did the environmental assessment, and of course once you're in the process of doing that, then expectations are generated as a result of doing that, and some properties have in fact been purchased. The purchase of properties is not yet complete, and the timing of the road is not something that I could address this evening with any real degree of accuracy, but I can tell the honourable member that it is something that the department wants to see completed at some juncture.
The Honourable Member for Digby Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, Mr. Chair. I went to a meeting last year with the Road Builders Association. I know money's a problem in this province. We all know that. Anybody who doesn't, there's something wrong with their calculator. Went to a Road Builders Association meeting, and we put we put 170 some million, I believe you said, into roads, into rebuilding secondary roads and whatnot. They told us if we didn't put $300 million into the rural roads, secondary roads and whatnot of Nova Scotia, that we would never catch up, that we would never, ever catch up. It would take $300 million a year just to put us on a little speedier pace that someday we could catch up. And they wouldn't even give a time limit when that day would come at $300 million. So that gives you a good idea where we stand with 170 some million going into that. In the roads, we're having ferry problems there now in Digby. And one of the reasons, one of the problems is roads, both in this province and New Brunswick. It was both stated. But coming out of Digby, through that little town, there's a terrible, terrible congestion right now of daily traffic there without any boat traffic coming and getting mixed up in it at a couple, 2 or 3 trips a day across that bay in the summertime. There's no real highway. They kind of follow the path through that goes through the town on the upper side of the town. And that's a very, very narrow road, just barely wide enough to 2 cars can pass. And bumper to bumper, there's one set of lights in the town, and the rest are stop signs and yield signs. So it's quite a congested place. Could that be in the planning of the department of if we are going to work hard in Digby and in the western Nova Scotia to put a ferry service in Digby, a better ferry service is the goal, maybe even more ferries down the road from the United States. Is that in part of the planning of the departments to do any road work for the success of a better ferry service there in Digby?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I believe that the honourable member would appreciate the great challenge we have right now is to ensure the continuation of that ferry service, and assuming that we are going to be successful in doing that, one of the ways, of course, that you do that is to increase the traffic, and the degree to which we can be successful in increasing that traffic will have a definite impact on plans that we have with respect to accommodating that increased traffic through Digby.
The Honourable Member for Digby Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We know the RIM money. I believe I want to get back to the RIM money. I guess that is for digging ditches and maintenance and cutting alders. We got lots of alders to cut, that's for sure. But the last year, and I thank the department again, we did see a few alders cut down. And I thank you very much for that. People was happy, that they seen them alders disappearing slowly in the ditches. And I want to send along that thank you for that. But I think they're growing faster than they're being cut. So anyway, do you see, I know we need more RIM money to do that. Do you see that the RIM money may possibly get raised for rural areas in this next year or next year or two?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I indicated in my opening remarks that the government intends to move forward with its commitment to increase the RIM spending by a total of $5 million over what it had been, and the last installment of that is more than five. But anyway, the last installment in that increase will come next year. This year we added $2.5 million to the RIM program. Next year we're going to add another $2.5 million next year. So it'll bring the RIM from a figure of $9 million in the first year that we had the RIM program up to a figure of $20 million next construction season.
The Honourable Member for Digby Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to go back to the 101 again. From Bridgetown to Kentville. I travel that road every week. Every week I come to this city since becoming the MLA. I used to travel it once in a great while just to come to the city, but now I travel it every week, and I see things on that highway that sometimes are pretty frightening. From Bridgetown to Kentville, there's no passing lanes at all. I've brought this to the department before, and they said, well, there's no passing lanes between Bridgetown and Kentville because there's no hills. The passing lanes were made for the hills to pass trucks on, slow-moving trucks. I guarantee you tonight or tomorrow, you can get down the valley, and after you get by Kentville, there'll be somebody on that highway driving 45 miles per hour, whatever kilometers that is. 70 kilometers to 80 kilometers per hour. And there'll be a line of cars. You'll get behind a line of cars a half a mile sometimes, maybe even further, because you'll whip out to look by to see. You can't even see the end of them. But there's somebody, and it's not a big truck. It's somebody out for a Sunday drive every day of the week. That's what's going on in that valley. Why they don't go down, and no wonder people get frustrated. Some pass on the right-hand side on the shoulder. I've seen that. I've seen cars whip out, whip back in between two cars, and the other car coming head on, go down on the other side, on your left-hand shoulder. You see this stuff all the time. No one's been killed there yet, and I believe somebody's looking after it, somebody up above me. I don't know, but somebody's going to be killed there. But every time, and here's a fella here from the valley, you can ask anybody that's down that valley and drives there a lot, that there's somebody moving on that road slow. Now, why would the department say them passing lanes are only for big trucks that move slow on hills? Because there is people in the valley that drive 45 miles per hour, 70 kilometers per hour on that straight stretch of road, and some days you'll go right from Kentville to Bridgetown, and you cannot get by them. Did I ask a question? The question is, why did yes, I did. Why did the department say that they can only put passing lanes on where there's hills?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And yes, the honourable member did ask a question, but it was very early on in his remarks, and I'd lost track of it. The department, just to set the record clear, has never said what the honourable member is suggesting. Matter of fact, the department has done a rather comprehensive study of the traffic problems related to the 101. And part of the results of that study is the work that's taking place now in the twinning of the 101. not in the section the honourable member is referring to, but further up. And that work will proceed. And the need for passing lanes as you move further and further away and toward the section the honourable member is referring to is a need that is recognized. However, there are higher priorities with respect to the needs to get the twinning done in the sections that have been identified for that.
The honourable member for Digby-Annapolis.
I guess some people just can't understand, why you would twin a highway down to Kentville, We know that when you get below Kentville, the traffic does get a little bit thinner. But to take twinned highway traffic onto that narrow bottleneck 2-lane road, it just doesn't make any sense to anybody. They think at least as while you're twinning that you would put 2 or 3 passing lanes somewhere down along that highway to free up that traffic that is in a bottleneck there. It's in a tight bottleneck, and somebody's certainly going to get hurt there. Another one you can mark on the wall. I want to talk about salt for a moment. Can you tell me whether the department has changed any of their policy on salting rural roads? Because down on Long Island, maybe it was I'm not sure what it was. I guess that's why I'm asking the question. Down on Long Island, they stopped using salt. I know of one incident down there that salt was put on top of a hill in Freeport, the village of Freeport, and the salt in rainstorms run downhill. And I helped 3 or 4 people along there get better wells or get their wells fixed and new wells drilled or whatnot. And I believe the department took care of that for them. But I believe after that happened, there was something done that there was no more salt was being put on that road on Long Island. Did a policy change in salting roads or anything in the department?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I understand there hasn't been any change in the salt policy, but in circumstances where salt is deemed to be a threat to wells, then sand is used in place of the salt.
The Honourable Member for Digby-Annapolis.
But where the problem was with the salt was just on one hill, and it affected 3 or 4 homes. Then the salt was taken away from the whole island, which is approximately 10 miles or 15 kilometers long. And I don't believe they use salt anywhere on the island. But the only problem there was salt is because the department had put it on top of a hill. And whoever done it down there didn't realize that salt will run downhill in a rainstorm, that's for sure. And that's what happened there. But it seemed like they stopped using salt on the whole island, because I've had complaints down there that they wasn't using any more salt. It wasn't nothing too serious, but they did just go to sand. So I thought maybe the policy changed for the whole island or for the whole area. I didn't know.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I don't have the details of the answer for the honourable member. A few suppositions come to mind, but probably be best if I went away and asked the question and provided a more precise answer than I might provide through supposition.
The Honourable Member for Digby-Annapolis.
In Digby County is a big county. It's approximately take you 3.5 hours to drive to each corner of it, across it. It's a big area, and in that area, the Digby detachment, the Digby department itself, has 2 sheds. They have one on Long Island, which in the wintertime they keep an operator down there, and I believe they keep a truck down there in the building. And in Weymouth, which is quite a little drive from Digby, Weymouth and Long Island both, they have another shed over in back of Weymouth, Weymouth Mills, I believe it is. It's been brought to my attention that these sheds are deteriorating pretty fast. They either need some major work done to them, or they say that in the next year, 2 or 3, they'll fall down. So is the department going to fix these odor sheds? I don't know just what you'd call them. They're certainly not the main department, but they are odor sheds where they keep plows, snow plows, especially in the winter time. They find them handy because it's quicker. If they have a driver in Weymouth and a driver on Long Island, they don't have to get a vehicle or snow plow down to that area. The snow plow is already there. So they're just wondering if them sheds are going to be kept up, repaired, or if they're going to be let go.
Honorable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. At this point, there aren't any plans to change the structure and the base structure in that part of the province.
The Honorable Member for Digby Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Minister. I want to share some of my time with my colleague from Annapolis, and anyway, I do want to thank you again for what you have done for the Digby area in the last couple of years. It's been certainly a welcome to see a few alders go and some gravel put on our 500 kilometers of dirt roads too in that area. And there's been mud put on them for the last 10 years. And this last couple of years, it was changed and some good gravel started to put on them, and certainly needs some more. But thank you very much for what you've done.
The Honorable Member for Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the Minister, I see now what has to happen. You have to start hammering about alders, because I appreciate the member talking about all the great work in Digby Annapolis. Well, I represent part of the Annapolis County, which I can't really say the same. So I do look forward to having a discussion today around transportation issues that pertain to my riding. And there was an announcement, I believe, and it's around RIM funding, but was there not an additional $10 million that was put into that program over the last year?
The Honorable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Yeah. The RIM program at one point stood at $10 million, and we made a commitment in '03 that we would double that amount of money over a period of 4 years. This year we're at an additional $7.5 million, I guess, to that commitment, and next year we will fulfill the commitment and bring it to $20 million, so that the total RIM program has gone from 10 to 20 from '03 until '07.
The Honorable Member for Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In my constituency, I have a highway shed in the Middleton area, as well as one in the Lakeele shed. It's been brought to my attention that even though there's been an substantial increase in the RIM funding, the funding allocated for the constituency that I represent actually has gone down by about 4%. So I'm wondering if that can be.
The Honorable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
I'm told, Mr. Chair, and I think it's important for members to understand that the distribution of the RIM money is done by a formula that's applied province-wide. And to the best of my knowledge, any increase in RIM funding should reflect in an increase in money that is spent in any particular area of the province, because the formula it doesn't change. At least to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't change. So that if we put an additional $2.5 million into the program, then that should result in additional monies being spent in your area. Now, there may be a difference in terms of the amount of money that is allocated in the ordinary maintenance program, which is separate from RIM, and RIM is done through contract work. It's the regular maintenance budget has been in effect, and the money that's been available is money that comes out of that budget.
The Honourable Member for Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I asked the minister, has the maintenance budget been cut? Is it possible that the 4% deficiency would be out of that budget?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I can tell you that the ordinary maintenance budget has in fact been increased. Now, whether the local administration of the department is allocating the money in a slightly different manner from what it did in the previous year, I can't say. But certainly the overall maintenance budget has in fact been increased.
Honourable Member for Annapolis.
I'd like to ask the minister, because I'm getting conflicting stories, and I'm not questioning what you're telling me, but I'm wondering if you could have somebody in your department have a look at the two sheds that I'm speaking of that I represent, and give me your interpretation of what is happening there, so that I could then go back to my constituents and let them know.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And the Chief Engineer just indicated to me that he was in that area about 2 weeks ago, and he received at that time the same story that you're giving to me now. He undertook to get an answer, and when he has that answer, I'll share it with you.
The Honourable Member for Annapolis.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank the minister. And I want to tell the Chief Engineer he's welcome back to my riding anytime he'd like, and I'll be more than happy to go and show him any issues that happen in the riding of Annapolis. I want to echo or add to the voice around the passing lanes on the 101. As you know, from Kentville to Bridgetown, there are absolutely no passing lanes. Yeah. I better not invoke her name today, but there are no passing lanes, and I want to say to the minister, when you look at in particularly the traffic that has come from the Middleton area, following all the way through to Kentville, a lot of people are on that highway traveling for work purposes. A lot of truck traffic on that highway traveling for work purposes. If you have an opportunity to be on it on a sunny day, a day that it's raining, it looks like it's completely flat, and yet there are little hollows in there where you don't see that car until you actually have pulled out to pass. There's been, in many parts of that highway, there's been a tremendous number of accidents. I asked the Minister of Transportation last year around what his department had envisioned for that section of the 101 from Kentville to Bridgetown, when we could expect passing lanes. And I'm wondering, and I'm asking you again, when can we expect some work to take place in passing lanes? If you look at the base of that highway, you know, and the engineer may be able to help this. When you look at the base of that highway, it's not complicated. There's plenty of room on both sides of the highway to shift the pavement a bit, to widen it, to ensure that we have passing lanes on a lot of those flat sections. So this is not a huge cost to the department. So I'm wondering if the minister could tell me when we can see some passing lanes in that section of the 101.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I made reference in response to the Honourable Member for Digby Annapolis to the work that's currently being done on 101, and of course the need to continue that work. And that very much is the rate at which that work will occur very much depends on the success that we might have with securing federal funding for our national highway system, the 100 series highways in the province. So being reasonably optimistic that we will experience some success there in the relatively near future. If and when that happens, then it would put us in a position to be able to get to the point of doing the upgrades to which you refer more quickly than would otherwise be the case. I'm also reminded that it isn't simply a question of getting a paving machine and laying down another corridor of asphalt. From an engineering perspective, there's much more involved in terms of providing passing lanes than that, and the amount of work that's required is considerable. So that again, we're in a position where it's the simplicity of the stated solution doesn't in any way reflect the reality of the challenge to do it. And it's approximately a $12 million figure in order to do the work that is required for that section of road.
The Honourable Member for Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to acknowledge to the Minister that I simplified it, I know, beyond what it would be. I guess the concerns of the people and where the people of not only my riding but the western part of the valley, the question would be to them, are we going to wait until we twin the 101 to Kentville before we put the passing lanes in, or will there be some work happening coinciding with the twinning from Windsor down to Kentville, Colebrook area?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And again, it's not that I'm trying to avoid the answer, but if I knew the answer, I could provide it more clearly. But the answer will be impacted very clearly by any agreement that we're able to reach with the federal government with respect to funding, and that will have an impact as to when some of this work might occur. And I want to say to the honourable member, I've driven that section of road often enough to have some appreciation of the frustration that local people experience. I won't say that I understand it fully because I don't drive it as often as they do.
Honourable Member for Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to wish the Minister well in his discussions with the federal minister and hoping that he brings back a highway deal that all Nova Scotians can be proud of, one that will hopefully provide a much safer transportation network for all the citizens, not only the ones that are in my constituency, as I've been, like you, have been around the province and recognize a tremendous amount of road work that is required, especially in the twinning of the 103 and the 101, and as we go up through your constituency. So I want to wish you all the success as you begin to twist his arm to make sure that the deal is right for Nova Scotia. One of the things that I had heard earlier in estimates was around sand sealing. There's a road in my constituency called Brookside Drive. It actually is, it's part of my constituency that I actually have to leave, go into the Kings County, into the riding, my neighboring riding of Kings West, to drive back in on the road, come back into the back end of what is my constituency. The end of that road is split between the county line of Kings and Annapolis, and the only way in is out of my constituency of Annapolis into Kings and back in on Brookside Drive. It is now a sand-sealed road. It's one that, as you know, I'm sure the engineer would know, Greenwood is well known for its sandy soil. The Minister of Transportation a year ago had talked about that the department was exploring the possibility of doing more sand-sealed roads, especially in areas where it was conducive to working properly. We spoke about this, and the engineer may be able to correct me. I believe this soil is conducive to this type of sand sealing, and I'm wondering, and I had suggested to him that Brookside Drive would be a perfect experiment road if they're looking for a place to try to do sand seal, and I would suggest to you the same, and wanting to know if that is still a possibility, that the department is moving forward with going back to doing sand sealing on some of these roads. I heard you mention earlier that sand sealing has been used to cover over some existing paved roads. but it's also was originally used as a top coat in many cases to being a dirt road into a paved road or sand sealed road. The one that is there was presently sand sealed quite some time ago. It's lasted the duration, but it's in desperate need of work, and I'm wondering where the department is going with that issue.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The honourable member raised a couple of questions. One is that when the resurfacing that is done to paved roads is not sand seal, it's called a chip seal that's put on that. And indeed, that is one area of the province where sand seal does appear to have worked effectively, and the program, the sand seal program, is one that is administered locally by the departmental forces there, and we have in some areas resurfaced existing sand seal roads. We're not in the process of expanding the inventory of sand sealed roads, but certainly it's our intent to try and preserve the ones that already exist.
Honourable Member for Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in a local area that they're doing a sand sealed road, would that come out of their maintenance budget, or would that be part of the capital budget as any other paved road would be dealt with?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The sand seal program is partly funded out of the operational budget, partly funded out of the capital budget, but the administration of the program is done locally.
The Honourable Member for Annapolis.
So I just told I'm really interested in this because it's going to be one of the first things I ask when I get back home is why we haven't been applying or soliciting this type of support from the department before. So I'm looking at the mechanism. I know right now under the present situation, capital projects have a separate entity, maintenance have a separate silo, if you so to speak. What's the mechanism here? How does this work? Does a local Department of Transportation have to say to the department, geez, I've got a road down here that I believe will work, that is perfect for sand seal. It's been there now for the last 20 years. We want to redo it. How do we go about doing that? How do we go about accessing that funding?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and that's a decision that the local department people can take on their own. And the honourable member, I would encourage him to have a chat with Paul Stone in that area.
The Honourable Member for Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will do that. And I would like to, I guess I would ask the minister if he could have somebody in the department forward me the protocol around that particular part, and it might be because I'm missing that, but I'd like to have the information around that the protocol and how we go about actually applying for that type of setup. So it would be much appreciated. I brought this to the minister. I brought this issue to your attention shortly after you were sworn in as minister, as the issue around Sawmill Creek Bridge. I spoke to your predecessor here a year ago about the issue, and I had assurances by the former minister that that bridge would be replaced this year. I had actually, he even went as far as to say we might put it to tender in last year, in the fall of last year, to be replaced this year, but definitely I would see a new bridge in Sawmill Creek this year. Presently there's no tender that I know of, unless it's gone in the last few days, and I'm wondering where we are in the process of ensuring that the people of Moshel have a safe bridge to cross over.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I want to assure the honourable member that we have not lost sight of the bridge, and it is being evaluated, and it certainly could be a candidate for future work.
The Honourable Member for Annapolis.
I want to just continue on the Sawmill Creek Bridge, and I know perhaps that's what the engineer was doing in my constituency, having a look at that bridge around the issue of the alignment. that I had some concerns with, and during the campaign was busy and unable to go to the bridge at that time to show the issues that the community had. And I'm wondering if that issue has been dealt with and the alignment, whether or not somebody in your department has seen that, and whether the design will meet the satisfaction of the community.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and certainly the design is one of the key factors that is being taken under consideration with respect to the evaluation that is currently taking place. And the challenge, of course, is to get that right. Alignment questions with respect to bridges are very often very difficult to resolve. They're, appear to be a lot easier on the surface than they actually are, and it does take some time to bring them to an appropriate resolution. So that's part of what is being considered with respect to this bridge.
The Honourable Member for Annapolis.
I want to thank the Minister for that. This has been an ongoing concern for that community for quite some time. I want to also say to your department and staff, I appreciate the response that they had around the issue when the community raised a concern. They responded immediately. When the department in Lakeele, when the shed in Lakeele had the same concerns as I did and as the community did, your department responded to try to find the way to resolve this in the best interest of those constituents in that community. I recognize it may have led into a bit of a delay, but in the long run, not only will they as a community be better served, but so will we as a province be better served. Often I know in your department, and particularly on the front lines of the constituencies, many of your people are in a no-win situation. Often I end up getting the call after somebody has called the local Department of Transportation shed and has given them every piece of information or knowledge they may have ever had and never wanted to know, and then they end up coming to me to try to resolve it, realizing that they are in a tough position. And they are the front lines people that you have out there. And I know you know this, but I want to say from my perspective in the constituency of Annapolis, you have some of the best people working in your department on the front lines in terms of the day-to-day dealing with the public. It is an extremely, extremely difficult job. And I don't know if Nova Scotians truly can appreciate that unless you can look at it from the view that I have or the view that elected members in this House have. Many people have, see the very superficial level, like I might say that I did when I said to you a few minutes ago, the simplistic approach to solving the 101. And it is that type of approach is widespread in Nova Scotia, and we end up funneling it all on top of the local people who work for you. So I know you're new in this department. I know you appreciate the people in that department, but I would submit to you and to your government that you ensure that the people on the front lines in every constituency in this province recognize how much we as as elected people in this House understand and appreciate the work that they do, not only on behalf of your department, but on behalf of all of Nova Scotians. It is a daunting task. I think some days the only job worse some days than the one that I have in terms of the caseload that comes in would be the Department of Transportation and the caseload that they are provided with. So I will close on that and maybe come back tomorrow, but I wanted to put those words on the record that in your frontline people in rural Nova Scotia, and particularly in the riding of Annapolis, that I can speak to are leading people in our constituency and are doing the very best job that they can to ensure that the people of Annapolis have roads and safe transportation network. And it's something that not only you should be proud of, but your department itself should be proud of the work that they are doing. So with that, I will share my time with the member from Kings West.
The Honourable Member for Kings West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and through to the Minister. Don't think we have a lot of time left. I think 8:07 maybe is the time, Mr. Speaker. 8:07. So I'll get a start and continue on tomorrow. I guess we're working our way up the valley, perhaps, as you may say. We started down at Digby, we've come through Annapolis, and we've arrived in Kings County, and Kings West in particular. I'd like to start with a question that I guess kind of set the stage, perhaps, for the amount of money that is put in the transportation budget. I know it's Transportation and Public Works, but certainly in this House, there have been many questions asked over the years, and in the 3 years certainly that I've been here, about whether the motor fuel tax, all of it going back into the roads and so on of the province. I'm just wondering, in terms of you know, the gas price, and we've seen gas prices go up, and so I'm wondering how the budget reflects the additional revenues that do come in from hikes in gas prices. Last year, for example, we saw gas rise to about $1.43, $1.45 a liter, and so I'm wondering how that gets reflected and translated into additional work in the Department of Transportation, or in fact, how it helps as the key revenue source, perhaps, for work in the department.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The motor fuel tax, which is the tax in question here, is a flat tax, and it's a tax per liter. So the increase in price doesn't have an impact on the amount of tax. If anything, it has a negative impact, because as price per liter increases, people make the decision to purchase less motor fuel. And if they purchase less motor fuel, with it being a flat tax, then the amount of revenue that would be generated from motor fuel tax would in fact decline in those circumstances.
The Honourable Member for Kings West. Here.
Yes, I thank the minister for that, and I didn't realize that it was a flat tax. I meant to talk about all of the taxes, the HST and so forth, that are there, because then it does reflect a higher amount. So I'm wondering how that does get translated back into the roads of the province, because additional revenues at certain times can indeed be collected and are collected from time to time. So I'd like to know how that is translated into work that Nova Scotians indeed can see.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Just again, for the purposes of clarity, the commitment that we have made with respect to motor fuel tax does not include HST revenue that would accrue to the province as a result of sales. So the Act itself makes specific reference under Part 1 of the Revenue Act to the motor fuel tax, and that's the one that applies. The revenue that comes from the HST is a revenue that goes into the as it all does, goes into the general revenue, but the commitment that we have by way of legislation to spend it on roads is for the motor fuel tax itself.
The Honourable Member for Kings West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was certainly pleased to see that additional dollars, additional monies are put into the RIM program this year. And one of the questions, though, I had around the RIM program, I know it has come to my attention in the past that this money sometimes did not stay with contractors in the local area. In other words, I suppose through the tendering process, which we know does in fact need to be done. But I'm wondering if there's, what the policy is in the department, if indeed there is a bit of a concerted effort made to have some of the ditching and the bush cutting and gravel on the sides of the pavement and so on, if in fact that's tried to be kept in local areas.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And the short answer to the honourable member's question is that the contracts are awarded to the lowest qualified bidder. Having said that, there is, at least in my part of the province, there's an increased awareness on the part of contractors for opportunities to go out and get work. And I had occasion recently to answer an inquiry from a contractor from my area who in fact was doing work up in Halifax and has been doing it for a period of about 5 years now. So it's somebody who's not working at home, but at least benefiting from the RIM program. And the nature of the RIM work is such that it tends to favor, in many instances, and I don't mean exclusively, but in many instances, tends to favor smaller contractors, and it is an opportunity for them. We are not in the business of allocating that work on any sort of a regional basis. It's our belief that we have a responsibility to get the best possible price for the work, and the best way to do that is to award it to the lowest bidder, lowest qualified bidder in all circumstances.
The honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through to the Minister, I thank you for that response. Certainly a hot topic, as you can tell from my two colleagues, is the number one. And certainly traveling it every week pretty well for the last 3 years, and on many occasions, 101, and many times, of course, through the past number of years. First of all, it was the plan is to get the twinning to Colebrook 2010, and I'm just wondering, as certainly as I travel the road now, and I see some of what has been cut down and cleared. If we go along too far, we'll have a second round of clearing. Not perhaps of the major trees, the largest trees, but certainly some of the smaller bushes, trees, etc. I'm wondering how far the department is projecting that this project is now behind schedule.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Mr. Chair, the current work that is underway is not behind schedule. As we look into the future, the schedule will very much depend upon the amount of federal funding that we might be able to bring to the table to do that work.
The honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I certainly, know the importance of certainly a strong agreement, a renewed effort, perhaps, to get federal dollars for this project. And certainly it doesn't sound like the commitment is in place for the completion of that project. I'm just wondering if, in fact, there are planned talks around the 101. As we know, it's been identified in a number of national magazines as one of the deadliest stretches of highway in the country, and I'm wondering if you, as the new Minister of Transportation, if you do have an aggressive plan schedule to work towards a full commitment for federal funding for this project, and of course within the projected hopeful date of completion.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and our efforts with respect to obtaining federal funding apply to 101, 102, 103, 104, 125 roads. So, that road is certainly going to be part of the package that is under discussion with the Government of Canada.
Honourable member for Kings West.
Back last fall, I entered a bill looking at the use of rumble strips, center lane rumble strips, which have been used in some of the other provinces, jurisdictions across the country, and work very effectively in terms of increasing and improving safety records. Knowing that the part of the highway referred to from Bridgetown to Colebrook is certainly not in anybody's plan at this stage for twinning. Certainly, passing lanes can certainly be justified. I'm wondering, is this an option that could be given some consideration? I know just in the stretch, for example, from Greenwood to Colebrook, I've had the misfortune of teaching or coaching 3 young people who have died on that stretch of highway. Now, we know there are many factors, obviously, in collisions and in road accidents. But nevertheless, it does have a number of elements that seem to contribute to certainly a very, very high degree of accidents and accident victims on that stretch of road.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Certainly, the honourable member has made a suggestion that's worth taking under consideration, and we'll look at it.
Honourable Member for Kings West.
Thank you very much. One of the areas that we keep hearing about again from year to year is the question of when tenders do go out. Many would say that it's late in the year, and that perhaps we could have the tendering process earlier, work perhaps started earlier, which potentially now with an expanded program that certainly was committed to in the last platform, and I'm wondering if there's any plan to try and make some progress in that particular area.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and we're tendering far more than we did in previous years. We have about still 20% of the work to call, and certainly one of the things we'll be doing next year is having a number of fall calls, which will result in work beginning much earlier in the season. And I understand we're about to run out of time. I just, on the 101 and the construction schedule, I just want to draw attention to honourable members that after we finished the environmental assessment and began the detailed design work, we ran into some unexpected wetlands that required us to go back and revise the environmental assessment. Recognizing that that was going to delay the work somewhat, we took the money that had previously been allocated to that and put it into structures that are required. So the work in those structures is proceeding, and when we get to doing the grade work, then the structures will be in place, and so it won't affect the schedule in any way.
The Honourable Member for...
I had met with the...
Order, please. Order, please. Time for the member has expired as well. Time allotted for the debate on the estimates and committee on supply today has expired.
Clerk reports.
That the committee has met and made progress and begs leave to sit again.
Is it agreed?
Hours. That's right, yeah.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Next one. There you go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to call the order of business public bills for second reading.
Public bills for second reading.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I think we're going to just simply ask the unanimous consent of the House to revert to the order of business, reporting committees. Agreed.
Request for reporting of committees. Is it agreed? Agreed. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As Chairman of the Committee on Law Amendments, I'm directed to report that the committee has met and considered the following bill. Bill number 19, an act to protect the personal information of Nova Scotians from disclosure outside of Canada. The committee recommends this bill with favourable consideration of the House without amendment.
Order that this bill be referred to the Committee of the Whole House on Bills. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now I'd like to call the order of business public bills for second reading.
Public bills for second reading.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to call Bill number 45, the Labour Standards Code.
Bill number 45. The Honourable Minister of Environment and Labour.
Thank you. I'd like to move second reading of Bill number 45, the Labour Standards Act Code.
The Honourable Member for Cole Harbour Eastern Passage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad to have a couple of minutes to speak on this bill. This is a piece of legislation that my party and my caucus has been very interested in seeing passed. It is an area that I think it's fair to say is in flux right now with regard to which workers need protection and which workers do not need protection. But I think, as our party has said all along, it is inevitable that this province is, in the short term, not in the long term, going to face open Sunday shopping, whether it's regulated in a different form or unregulated, will be for whoever the government of the day will be when that happens. But, Mr. Speaker, what we have said all along is that the workers who choose should have a choice as to whether they should work on Sundays. And we're not the only province that has done this. I know it's been done in Ontario to some extent and maybe a few other provinces. The fact remains that as a legislature, our job is an imperfect job. We can't fine-tune legislation. By the way it's drafted, Mr. Speaker, we can draft legislation that provides for certain rights for workers. That's what this bill does. This bill will ensure that workers who are asked to work in a retail industry on a Sunday have the right to choose not to work. And that right, given in connection with what the amendments to the Labour Standards Code were in 2003, are very powerful rights. The right to reinstatement from the Labour Standards Division, the right to penalties for those who violate the rights of those individuals. Mr. Speaker, these are key rights. And these are rights that we think are very strong and important, and the workers who choose not to work on Sunday should have these rights, Mr. Speaker. But there are two other components of this as well that I think it needs to be put on the record. One is enforcement. We can talk all we want about what this legislature passes as legislation, but in the end, it's a government and it's a Minister of Environment and Labour and his division who have to enforce this legislation. And much like people compare to a Russian constitution, you can put anything on paper, Mr. Speaker, but the fact is, words on paper mean nothing unless they're ready to be enforced. And I would hope that this government is not passing legislation that it does not intend to enforce. And there is the ability with the Labour Standards inspectors and officers, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that there is a timely right to reinstatement and right to pecuniary interest being addressed, Mr. Speaker, for those that choose not to work on Sundays. And I would hope that this government not only passes a piece of legislation, an amendment to the Labour Standards Code, but is prepared to put the resources behind it to ensure that it is enforced, Mr. Speaker. The second component of this is, and it's fair to put on the record, is what is in the regulations. Every act has regulations, which are the subsidiary legislation passed by Cabinet that has given them more flexibility because they need flexibility that can't be passed when the legislation isn't here. Well, Mr. Speaker, it's in those details that this government has the power to exempt not only a few, but a lot of businesses and retail businesses, Mr. Speaker. It is my hope that the intent of this legislature, which is written in this bill, which is to pass legislation to provide retail workers with the protection and the choice to choose to work on Sundays, Mr. Speaker, is not somehow eroded for a great number of our retail workers. That is for this government to decide when they sit in Cabinet each Thursday. One of those Thursdays, there's going to be regulations coming forward, and those regulations are going to tell them exactly which retail workers are going to have the right to refuse to work on Sundays and which won't. We can only, as I said, in an imperfect world, this legislature can only pass legislation ensuring that those workers have that right. It's up to this government through enforcement and through its regulatory making powers to ensure that that right is as broadly and as strongly enforced as possible. This caucus believes that this is good legislation. We believe that it should be there for all retail workers, and we're glad to support legislation that says that. But we'll be keeping an eye on this government if this bill makes it through third reading, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that they do their job to enforce and to ensure the regulatory making power does not whittle away the rights of a lot of workers who don't want to work on Sundays. Thank you.
The honourable member for Cape Breton South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the bill that's before us tonight, Bill number 45, the Labour Standards Code, and say that any bill that will give protection to workers on the Sunday shopping issue is a bill that our party can support. Sure. Of course, like every other bill, we're going to have to see what spins out once this bill moves its way through the law amendments process. But suffice to say, Mr. Speaker, we support sending the bill onto law amendments, and then we'll see what kind of interest is really in this bill when we get to debate the bill at law amendments and back in the House at Committee of the Whole. So for now, we support the bill going through to law amendments and look forward to the debate. Thank you.
If I recognize the Honourable Minister of Environment and Labour, it will be to close debate. The Honourable Minister of Environment and Labour.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the members for their comments and assure them that I've listened carefully to them, and I move that debate be closed on this bill.
The motion is for second reading of Bill number 45. Is the House ready for the question? Would all those in favour please say aye? Contrary, nay. Motion is carried.
Bill 45, entitled an act to amend Chapter 246 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Labour Standards Code.
Order that this bill be referred to the Committee on Law Amendments. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to call Bill number 47, the House of Assembly Act.
Bill number 47.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to move second reading on Bill number 47.
The Honourable Member for Cole Harbour, Eastern Passage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a piece of legislation that I think in the long term people will look back and say that it is an important piece of legislation for Nova Scotians and for this House of Assembly. This is a piece of legislation, Mr. Speaker, that will ensure that we have an independent review process with regard to the salaries of MLAs. In the last year or two or three, there's been debates about the system and how it should work. What I can say, Mr. Speaker, for the record is that our caucus supports this legislation because it takes out of the hands, hopefully, I really hope, once and for all, the ability of MLAs to have influence over their salary. I think as MLAs and as the people of Nova Scotia, we do not need to have any influence over what our salary is. It should be independent. This process will ensure that there is a review done once after every election, subsequent to every election within 90 days to ensure that there is going to be a review and that in between those reviews that it will be tied to the cost of living, Mr. Speaker. We think that's reasonable. We think that's a good approach. We're glad to support it. And on top of other things that have happened within this House, with other committees in the past year, we think that this House has come a long way in the last year in ensuring that Nova Scotians have a much more accountable approach as to what MLAs are paid and the money that they earn, and we're glad to support this legislation.
The Honourable Member for Cape Breton South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We in the Liberal Party also support this legislation, Mr. Speaker, and we'll say that the people of Nova Scotia can now be assured that members will not be setting their own salaries. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, the Commission of Inquiry, the McDougall Inquiry, is starting hearings this evening, and Nova Scotians will have an opportunity over the next month or 6 weeks to tell the committee what they think that members should be paid. And I believe that in doing so, we're adding more transparency to the way members in this province are being paid, and indeed, in the future years, it will be enshrined in legislation that members will have no part in deciding what their remuneration is going to be in the future. So, for Nova Scotians immediately who have some interest in this bill, they can go before the Commission and give their views. So I certainly support this bill, and our party supports it. Thank you.
Question.
If I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader, it will be to close debate. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to associate myself with the comments of the House leaders of the other two parties. I believe this is good legislation that will benefit Nova Scotians in the long run by creating an independent and transparent process for review of MLA salaries, and also will ultimately be saving of taxpayers' money in the sense that they won't have to have annual reviews, which have been a source of some unnecessary expenditure from time to time. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to close debate.
The motion is for second reading of Bill number 47. Is the House ready for the question? Would all those in favor please say aye? Contrary, nay. Motion is carried.
47, title and act to amend Chapter 1, 1992, supplement of the revised statutes 1989, the House Assembly Act.
Would this bill be referred to the Committee on Law Amendments? The Honourable Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I believe under the rules it's a sort of two-part motion. The honourable member from Cape Breton South will be moving tomorrow the hours for the opposition time, and then subsequent to that I will also be moving House hours post the Liberal opposition time.
The Honourable Member for Cape Breton South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the House will meet tomorrow from the hours of 1 p.m. till 5 p.m. Following the daily routine and question period that we'll be calling Resolution number 71, the gas regulation consideration, and also Bill number 36, prescription drug issue. So having said that, I will turn it back to the Government House Leader.
Honourable Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I would like to move that the House sit tomorrow from the hours of 6 p.m. To 10 p.m. Yes, I believe he's moved the hours of 1 to 5, which are provided for in the rules. Then subsequent to that, Mr. Speaker, tomorrow, I would move that the House sit from 6 to 10. The order of business will be supply, the subcommittee on supply.
Motion is for the House to sit from 1 to 5 tomorrow for opposition business, and from 6 to 10 for government business. All those in favor, please say aye. Contrary, nay. Motion is carried. We stand adjourned.